Hello everyone and welcome to Boundless Dentistry. In this video we'll talk about cleidocranial dysplasia. Now cleidocranial dysplasia has some important dental manifestation or presentation that leads to its importance in dentistry. So in this video we'll start with talking about some brief introduction about what is cleidocranial dysplasia, moving on towards some general description about cleidocranial dysplasia, then moving on towards the main dental abnormalities that a patient can present to your clinic, and then briefly talking about its treatment plan. So let's get started. Now starting off with what is actually cleidocranial dysplasia, in this description you can see that cleido means collarbone, cranial is your cranial cavity which is your head, and dysplasia means abnormality. There is some abnormal formation that has occurred. So if we combine all these terms, it means that there is something wrong with your collarbone, something wrong with your head, and there can be other manifestation in your body as well. So this is cleidocranial dysplasia. Cleidocranial dysplasia is mainly a disorder of bones, sometimes also joints as well, which is congenital in nature. That means that you are born with it. Some disease you acquire, which is acquired disease, and some are congenital, you are born with it. So cleidocranial dysplasia is a congenital disorder in which mainly there are disorders associated with your cranial cavity, that is your head, your collarbones, the clavicles. There is problem with the ossification of your cranial sutures and fontanelles. Fontanelles are the gaps in your head when a baby is born, the soft spaces that are present. They generally heal about some 16 months, some at 1 years of age, and some at 2 as well. So these are the normal timings when the fontanelles ossify. In this particular disease, there is some problem with closure of these fontanelles. And finally, the thing that concerns us the most are the dental abnormalities, which we'll shortly talk about how cleidocranial dysplasia leads to these dental abnormalities. Cleidocranial dysplasia is also known as cleidocranial dysostosis and Marie-Sainton's disease. Every disease that is present in the medical literature has its particular etiology. Same is the case with cleidocranial dysplasia, in that, as we have discussed previously, it's a congenital disorder which is acquired in an autosomal dominant way. Like there are 50% chance that you might get either from father or mother this cleidocranial dysplasia. The gene that is the main targeting factor which leads to this pathology is your RUNX2 gene. Now RUNX2 gene is a particular gene that is involved in osteoblast differentiation. So if you understand this, that the osteoblast differentiation, if there is any abnormality when osteoblast differentiation is occurring by something wrong being with RUNX2 gene, there will be something wrong with your bone. So that gives you an idea how a patient can clinically present to you by some pathology related to bone. We can diagnose this mainly by genetic testing of the parents, and when the individual is born and some abnormality is seen, X-rays are generally performed and a diagnosis can be reached. Now talking about how clinically a patient can present to you to your clinic or hospital is firstly the cranial abnormality. We'll first focus on cranial abnormalities. In cranial abnormalities, their brachycephalic can occur. Brachy means small, cephalic is your head. So these patients may have smaller heads. Secondly, there can be prominent forehead as well. You can see in this particular picture of this baby, the forehead is very prominent. It's actually bulging a little bit out. So this is a very prominent forehead. And thirdly, hypertelorism. Now what is hypertelorism? Basically hypertelorism is this, you can see on this right picture, that there's increased distance between the two eyes. So this is known as hypertelorism. These three features can occur in a patient suffering from cleidocranial dysplasia. Secondly, moving on towards your clavicle, there is something wrong with the clavicle or your collarbone such that they can be approximated in the midline. If you bring your shoulders, like normally you can't do this because your clavicles are well formed and you cannot approximate towards the center. But in these patients, the collarbone or your clavicles can be approximated towards the center, as you can see in this picture. The second abnormality is related to your clavicles. Third is dental abnormalities. This is the thing that concerns us the most, is the dental abnormalities. In this case, there will be some impacted teeth, or the teeth will be delayed in their eruption, and that is the main reason that they are impacted, so the eruption is delayed. Secondly, there are numerous supernumerary teeth. So many that sometimes there has been different records in the world that patient presenting with so and so many teeth. So there are supernumerary teeth present, and since the maxilla has not been developed as much as it should be, we will discuss that shortly. The mandible tends to be looking like it's prognatic. So there will be supernumerary and delayed eruption of teeth. There will be supernumerary teeth. The mandible can appear prognatic as well, and there are certain other features as well we'll discuss shortly when it's related to dental abnormalities. These three are the common symptoms that patients normally present with. There are some rare presentations as well, we will discuss that, which are some are vertebral abnormalities, something is wrong with your vertebrae. Brachial plexus irritation can occur, the nerves that are supplying your arms. There's something can wrong with this nervous system as well. Scoliosis is basically your spine curving in a sideway manner. For example, your spine is normally like this, and in scoliosis person it can see something like this. So there is some C-shaped bending of your vertebrae. And finally, spina bifida. In that case, it's a birth defect when your spine and spinal cord do not form properly. There is something wrong with that. So these four are rare presentation of a person suffering from cleidocranial dysplasia. Cranial abnormalities, dental abnormalities, and clavicle abnormalities, these are generally seen in a patient suffering from this particular pathology. Now talking about the main feature that concerns us the most are the dental presentation when a person comes to your clinic who is suffering from cleidocranial dysplasia. Firstly, there is high arched palate. You can see in this particular picture how deep the palate is. So when the depth of this palate is such that it exceeds the normal limits, it's known as high arched palate. Secondly, there are various sinuses that are present in your head, and there are different functions of these sinuses. We'll discuss that some other time when we are particularly focusing on sinuses. But at this moment, you should know that there are different sinuses that are present in your head, such as paranasal sinus and maxillary sinus. And when these sinuses do not develop properly, the maxilla tends to enlarge, but in sideways, not in your anterior posterior way. So that tends to lead that the maxilla is not well developed. So that leads to appearance of mandible being enlarged. Actually, mandible is not that enlarged. The thing is, your maxilla seems to be shortened. So that gives your mandible prognatic appearance, which is the third presentation seen in such patients. You can see in this particular radiograph, this is where your maxilla is ending, and this is where your mandible is ending. So this might give your mandible a prognatic look. Fourthly, there are retained deciduous teeth. You can see that this person is of age around 8, and some molars are not even erupted. There are some retained deciduous teeth. So, and you can also appreciate in this picture that how these teeth are impacted and supernumerary teeth are present. We will discuss that shortly, but for now you should remember that deciduous teeth are also retained in these patients. Moving on towards further dental presentation in such patients, fifth is your impacted teeth or delayed eruption. You can see how so many teeth these are impacted in your mandible, and they are not erupting in a proper way because they are malaligned. They cannot erupt in the proper space, so these are impacted. Sixth, you can see so many supernumerary teeth. You cannot even count how many supernumerary teeth are present. So these are retained, and when such teeth are retained, there are chances of formation of cyst, most commonly dentigerous cyst do form in that, and sometimes odontogenic keratocyst can also form, but cysts can form. There is a possibility of cyst forming when these so many supernumerary teeth are impacted because they aren't getting any proper space to erupt, and additionally there is no space because there are additional teeth to the 32 teeth that are already present in your mandible and maxilla. Seventh is absence of cementum. When you cannot appreciate as such clearly in your radiograph cementum, but histologically there will be absence of cementum in such patients suffering from cleidocranial dysplasia. And obviously, because of so many impacted teeth, supernumerary teeth, retained deciduous teeth, this will all lead to malocclusion. You can see in this picture, you cannot discern for sure how the occlusion will be when all teeth erupt and when already the teeth are present. So there will be malocclusion. And finally, the teeth that are present in such patients, they will have thinner and shorter roots. Now, radiographically seeing this patient as a whole, you can first start off by seeing this chest x-ray. In this case, you can see you can't even hardly tell where the clavicle is. They are so underdeveloped, and that's why the patient can approximate his or her shoulder towards the center. So this is about clavicles or your collarbone. Secondly, you can see this fontanelles. There is delayed ossification of this fontanelle. There might be something wrong with the cranial suture, which can lead to brachycephalic. And you can also appreciate in this case that how prominent the forehead is. So these give you an idea that in a diagnostic criteria way that this patient might suffer from cleidocranial dysplasia. And finally, the thing that concerns us is this OPG. In this case, you can see so many impacted teeth, supernumerary teeth, malocclusion. These all features are present in this. So by looking at all these features together, you might reach a diagnosis that a patient is suffering from cleidocranial dysplasia. Now, diagnosis of such patient is actually pretty much straightforward. You first take the radiographs of such patients, you try to do differential diagnosis, and after combining all this, you move towards the clinical feature. And when you combine these two, sometimes genetic testing can also be performed just to make sure. But these two things, radiographs and clinical features, pretty much give you an idea that the patient might suffer from cleidocranial dysplasia. Now lastly, talking about some in general how such patient is treated. Firstly, there is no specific treatment for such patient. You just move on towards correcting the symptoms of the patient and help normal development of such patient. So craniofacial surgery can be performed to correct the suture and fontanelles problem the patient might suffer. Now moving on towards dental treatment. In dental treatment, it basically starts with removing the deciduous teeth if they are retained for longer than time they should be present, so that the permanent teeth can erupt in the oral cavity. If there are supernumerary teeth present, like for example, if you have 32 teeth and you have teeth more than that, you have to remove that teeth so that you can prevent formation of cyst, more commonly dentigerous cyst. That is the most common cyst that occur in your oral cavity, dentigerous cyst. Secondly, if deciduous teeth are retained, for example, if a child is young and deciduous teeth are present and they, for example, become carious, so you have to restore such teeth so that if the deciduous teeth are carious and they lead to infection of pulp, this can in turn affect your permanent teeth as well because they are interlinked to each other. Headgears can also be used in such patient if injury to a fontanelle is present, so that if any direct injury to the fontanelle cannot occur. Second last is your speech therapy, because you have removed teeth or you have extra number of teeth, the patient will be a bit uncomfortable when that person is talking. So speech therapy can be important, and when you have removed such teeth, patient will have some problem with your speaking power. So dentures can also be given to the patient so that aesthetically as well as functionally the patient can perform well and doesn't have any insecurity when he or she is moving out of the house or in schools and etc. So this was all about cleidocranial dysplasia. We started off by talking about some general facts and basic things, that what is actually cleidocranial dysplasia, how it occurs, which genes are involved in cleidocranial dysplasia, which basically tells about its etiology, clinically how such patients present to us in our clinic. There are different features, most commonly cranial, clavicle and dental abnormalities. These are the main chunk of common symptoms that the patient presents to us in our clinic or in our hospital. Then we moved on towards more towards the dental part, which is important to us, how different dental presentation such patient can provide to us when visiting to our clinic. And then briefly, very briefly, we talked about the different treatment plans we can offer to the patient, more commonly the dental treatment. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe and press the bell icon. Thank you for watching this video. See you next time.